Have you ever wondered what modpack gives you the most FPS, or you just recently came back to Minecraft and vanilla just sucks and you want more FPS? Well, it doesn't really matter what your reason is, because you're gonna find out anyway by watching this video. Unlike in my last optimization modpack video, I will not be using default settings and I will test each modpack under the exact same conditions, but I will not be tinkering with mod settings though. But before I go into the numbers, I need you to understand how I actually tested these. First, I chose the 20 modpacks. Some of them were really popular, like fabulously optimized and simply optimized. Some were the exact opposite, having 2 or 3 downloads. And then I had some mod packs that aren't really made for optimization. They did have optimization mods, so they still kind of count. Some of them are like Distant Horizon plus Irish shaders and Sodium plus. And then I had Vulkan optimized in here because this many. So before any further ado, you will need to understand how I actually tested all of these mod packs. I used CapFrame X and Riva Tuner to record my FPS. Riva Tuner tells me the FPS and CapFrame X records it and tells me the average, the 1% lows, and whatever I need. Now onto the testing. I tested each and every one of these mod packs in 4 different scenarios across 2 worlds. I tested each mod pack a total amount of 20 times. From these 5 times per scenario, I only took the best result and didn't average it out, because the first result was always the worst because it had to render stuff in. Now onto the scenarios. It had 2 different worlds. First world is on the desert, further down on the ground, not many transparent blocks. There's water, there are some trees in the distance, and it's daytime, and that's pretty much it. The second one was the exact opposite. It's you're up in the sky, night, particles, transparent blocks, clouds, the exact opposite. So you would have a wide range to see which one performs best. And then onto the settings, I always used the exact same graphic settings on each and every one of these. I always disabled VSync and I always played it in full screen. Never have I had the show FPS setting turned on or ever pressed F3 to record my FPS. However, one setting I changed between the scenarios, and that is the render distance. One I tested at 30 chunks with 20 chunk simulation, and one I tested at 18 chunk render distance with 12 chunk simulation. However, one thing I didn't do is go into the settings of each and every one of these mod packs, like sodium, lithium, and whatever, to change settings in there, because then that would destroy the point of testing which mod pack is the best. Obviously, you can go in there and change everything the way you want it to have and the way it might actually perform the actual best, but not many people do that. Many people just want the regular out-of-the-box experience. They install the mod pack, maybe they put 1 or 2 mods that they like in there, and that's it. I changed in-game settings, not mod settings. That's one thing you need to know. Now onto the mod packs. First up is Adrenaline. Adrenaline is based on sodium plus lithium, and there are some other mods like Immediately Fast and Dynamic FPS that have something to do with optimization. Adrenaline doesn't really include any real quality of life mods, but since it's built around Fabric, you can really add whatever you want and make it your own, and in my opinion is a great start. Buttersmooth. Well, it's very similar to Adrenaline. Many of these mod packs are very similar to one each other. Actually, here's all the mod packs that are very similar in mods and contain at least 5 of the same mods that another one does. There are some that stand out, and I'm gonna go through those because all the other ones are sodium, lithium, and it's very, very similar. First one that stands out is Fabulously Optimized. Fabulously Optimized is lithium and sodium. I know, my bad. But it includes all the Optifine features, and in my opinion, if you haven't played Minecraft in a real long time, like talking when Optifine was still the way to go, this mod pack includes all of the Optifine features, including shader support, which many actually have, capes, zoom, and everything else that Optifine would actually bring you. And even your original Optifine cape, if you had one, still works here. So there is really no reason to use Optifine because it's absolutely horrible. If you want Optifine features and you don't want to tinker around, get Fabulously Optimized. Then the next real interesting one is Sodium Plus. Sodium Plus does actually have sodium, like the name inquires, but it's horrible when it comes to FPS, and that is because it comes with Distant Horizons, which is a level of detail mod which renders many chunks, talking like 300 chunks render distance, but just at the further you go at a lower quality, and you don't really notice. But I didn't disable that because I said I won't tinker with mods, and Sodium also has a mini map. They also have a voice chat mod, so it's many mods you may actually like, but it's also many mods you'll probably never use. Like if your friend doesn't have that exact mod for voice chat, you probably will never ever use that voice chat feature. The next mod pack that was very interesting was Vulkan Optimized. Many of you recommended to me this, and I actually know what Vulkan is. I didn't know this was actually possible in Minecraft to just change out the render engine, but like the name implies, Vulkan changes out the original Minecraft OpenGL render engine with the newer and better version of it, which is actually called Vulkan, and it does not include sodium, but therefore or it still has lithium, and generally, at least on a newer graphics card, showed improvements over other OpenGL sodium mod packs. The problem that actually might appear is that you need newer graphics cards, and I know AMD had driver issues with Vulkan kind of all the time. You generally need a GTX 600 series or newer from Nvidia, and Radeon HD 7000 for AMD, or any Intel Skylake processor or later. If you want to use integrated graphics, you also must have a 64-bit system, and at the very least 4 GB of RAM, which I do not actually recommend. I would at least play with 8, especially Minecraft. Minecraft is a RAM heavy game. Don't play with 4. 8 for Vulkan at the very least, I would recommend. And even if you have a newer GPU, I have a friend that actually has issues with Vulkan, so your results may vary. Now onto the first test. I actually need to talk about some of these mod packs before I go on further, because as you can see, Resimir Optimized, a mod pack that actually was downloaded by like 3 people when I downloaded it, performed incredibly well. No, it really didn't. I couldn't set the chunks distance up. I set it always to 30. I pressed apply, I went out, it still didn't change. When I went back in, it was at 2. It's always at 2. So what you're seeing here is 2 chunks render distance, and for the second world, I actually didn't even test Resimir Optimized anymore. And then there's another one you might instantly notice is Easy Optimized. It has 0. That's because the game didn't start. I could have probably fixed it by updating or removing a mod, but then it wouldn't really be their mod pack, it would be my mod pack. And it's really a shame because it has many fucking downloads, like 40,000 downloads, and it doesn't even start on my PC. So if you're encountering issues like that, then no, you are not the only one. I do as well. One thing that surprised me a lot is Sodium Extra and Sodium Plus on the exact opposites. These are made by these same people, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me, editor, please, now. Sodium Plus just has so much stuff put onto it that it sucks incredibly much. Like, it's crazy bad, and that is because it has so many mods, including the one I listed before. It has 4 pages in Modrinth of mods, and it's just really not needed for an optimization mod pack. But this is not really marketed as an optimization mod pack. It's more like an all-in-one mod pack. You download this and then you have the best Minecraft experience. You just do some settings to fit it to your PC, and then there you go. That's it. You don't ever need to do something else. Don't ever need a new mod. Don't ever need anything new, just to update the mod pack whenever a new game version comes out. It's crazy. Now, another one that has surprised me a lot throughout the whole testing, not just this one, is OMC Fabric. OMC Fabric was again one of these mod packs that had like 5 downloads when I got it, and it's crazy good. You will see it at the top during almost all of these testings. And then there's Simply Optimized, which I kind of expected at the top. It has like only 15 mods or whatever. Like, it's crazy how little stuff it has and how good it is. Like, the less stuff, the better. You know, you need the basics and nothing more, because that's what kind of really gets you the most FPS. Another one that has surprised me is Vulkan Optimized. This is the best result I've gotten with it. Remember, all of these results you are seeing here are the best results out of 5. So like, Vulkan Optimized being at the bottom 40% of this chart is kind of embarrassing for how many people were standing it. But then again, in the video that I actually did that, I stand Fabulously Optimized, and that is also below it. Other than that, nothing really special to remark. I was surprised how far down Adrenaline was, because I thought Adrenaline was like... Adrenaline is very similar to Simply Optimized, but it was a big difference apparently. Simply Optimized just has, I guess, better mod settings in this scenario at the very least. Now on to the next one. Now this is still the exact same world, but on 18 chunks, and now you see Vulkan Optimized at the very top, and then you see Adrenaline Simply Optimized, like the ones that I actually expected to see at the top. And I was surprised about Vulkan Optimized because it just changes the render engine, and it's just so much better. Then again, you have Sodium Plus at the very bottom. There's Buttersmooth Pojav, which is also very far down, and Buttersmooth Pojav was again one of those ones with very little downloads. But then again, OMC Fabric is like top 6 right now, if you do not include Resimir. Apparently unpopular mods can be very good as well. Another one that was kind of surprising is Distant Horizons plus Irish Shaders. It has gotten me 240 FPS in the 1% lows, and it's still rendered like 200 plus chunks, and that's crazy. Sodium Plus did the same. It also had Distant Horizons, and also it had Irish Shaders, but just not that much more bullshit. It only had Distant Horizons and Irish Shaders, and then Sodium and some other stuff. It's gotten a much better result. Now, if you need Distant Horizons and shader support, I would personally just install Adrenaline or Simply Optimize and then put Distant Horizon and Irish Shaders on that. If you don't know what you're doing, this is not a bad option if you just just want your game to look good. Like you have a 4090 or a 5090 that's gonna come out very soon. If you have a 5090, you just throw this mod pack in there, put a shader on, infinite chunks with shaders. That's gonna be the best experience you can possibly get if you want just it to look good. Other than that, there's nothing really that I haven't expected. There is fabulously optimized, like right in the middle, and that kind of surprised me because I remembered fabulously optimized being much better. And then another one that was also quite surprising is the top 4 one, if you do not include Restimir, because that didn't count, it's 2 fucking chunks, is Performium. Performium is a mod pack made by Kasei, and that mod pack actually has many mods. Like it had shader support, and it's not like Adrenaline and Simply Optimized that are super cut down with just optimization mods. No, Performium actually had some quite nice features, and it performed very good. Like it's amazing actually. I kind of feel bad now because in the first video I gave the crown to Fabulously Optimized and Simply Optimized, and I've kind of like made Performium look bad because the YouTuber that actually made this mod pack tested it with F3 turned off, and he used like some third-party FPS shower, and obviously you will always see more FPS if you use a third-party FPS shower. It's kind of a shame because he didn't have to do that. Like it actually performs good. Like it's crazy good. Now onto the second world. Again, 30 chunks now, and one thing you instantly see is OMC Fabric at the very top, which is crazy. And then again, you see Adrenaline and Simply Optimized, especially Simply Optimized, so far down the list, which is crazy. They just don't do good on high chunks. You didn't see them at the top on the other world at 30 chunks. You do not see them at the top on this world at 30 chunks. Another one you again see at the top, though with 30 chunks, is OMC Fabric. Like what? 5 downloads, guys. It was second best in average FPS and the best in 1% lows, which are actually the stuff that matters because that indicates how smooth the games actually feel. Then you have Simplify and Optimized FPS, and then Vulkan again. Vulkan, one thing I've noticed, it doesn't really perform that best again on 30 chunks. And then the mod packs, you actually would expect them to perform the best at the highest chunks, like Adrenaline, Simply Optimized, and Vulkan. They don't do the best at the highest chunks. They do better at lower chunks, which is kind of interesting, and I think that could be its very own video actually. Another one fabulously optimized is right in the middle, Butter Smooth Pojab and Sodium Plus at the very bottom. And then again, Distant Horizons being like 8 times better than Sodium Plus and still having nice features. It is crazy to me. Another one that I actually want to give a little award here is Remarkably Optimized. It has never really performed the best, but it was always good enough in performance, like no issues, and it was the one that was the most consistent. You see how close the average FPS bar is to the 1% low bar? That's crazy. It performs really consistent, and not only that, in my opinion, by default you just load into the game with those settings that I made on every single one of these. It looks the best. Like by far, the clouds are so nice, the animations are so cool. It's very good. I really loved Remarkably Optimized. If you just want it to look good and you don't know what you're doing, you just want a mod pack, Remarkably Optimized is again one option, but we'll talk about that a little more in the conclusion at the end of the video. And now the second world at 18 chunks, and you see instantly Vulkan Optimized absolutely gapping by almost 200 FPS in the 1% lows, which is crazy, having the highest high percent lows and the highest average FPS, and the average FPS was only 200 FPS like error to the 1% lows, which is what? It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And then again, you see Adrenaline, Thunder, Simply Optimized, and Wing. All of these 4 are very cut down optimization mod packs, and it shows they perform so close to each other, are actually like in the margin of error, less than 1% difference in the 1% lows between them. So each one of those are very great. And then again, you see Sodium Plus at the bottom, Butter Smooth Pojab and Distant Horizons at the very bottom. Sodium Extra didn't really do good anymore. It did very well in that first test, which surprised me, and then it was kind of mediocre. And another one again, OMC Fabric. It does incredibly well in high chunks, but incredibly bad. It's at the bottom 40% when it comes to lower chunks. If you play on high chunks, there are better mod packs than if you play on lower chunks. Crazy. Now, onto the conclusion. If your PC can handle Vulkan, and the best way to find out, by the way, is to just download it and try it out if it doesn't work. But if it can, Vulkan optimized, I think, is by far like one of the most stable experiences, and it actually performs really well on like more realistic chunks, on like 18 to 22 chunks than 30. Not only that, remember, if you know what you're doing, you can always just add mods and make it your own experience. But if your PC cannot handle that, there are still a few stuff to take into consideration. It's not just install Adrenaline or simply optimize. No, if you just want the most amount of FPS out of your mod pack and nothing else, you play on a potato, I don't know, whatever reason you have a 1000 hertz monitor, you want to use every single one of those hertz, simply optimized or Adrenaline is the way to go if you cannot use Vulkan. But then again, if you want to better like vanilla experience when you play with your friends on a server or whatever, or you just have your own world, in that case I would still recommend Fabulously Optimized, but Performium has kinda surprised me a lot. I actually prefer Performium over Fabulously Optimized. Remarkably Optimized is again great, and it performed a bit worse than Performium, but it actually looked the best. Performium is like a great in between, like most FPS and most usability. I like Fabulously Optimized because you still have like all the Optifine features, but so do you with Performium. So then again, it really depends what you want. Either Performium if you just want like more FPS and you want to make it look your own way with shaders, texture packs and whatever, so you know what you're doing, then Performium. If you just want your game to work and look good at the same time without you needing to tweak too much, then get Remarkably Optimized. Now everything even more concluded, if you can handle Vulkan, get Vulkan. If not, and you want the most amount of FPS, get Adrenaline or simply optimized. If you want a better just general experience with the game, get Performium or Remarkably Optimized. That is pretty much it. I'm Wise, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.